ChatGPT, the newest tool everyone is talking about, the biggest invention since sliced bread. Honestly, I'm going to show you how everyday people can use it, not just website designer, coders, or writers. You can use it to bounce off ideas, evaluate, explain, summarize, improve your work, basically to get unstuck wherever you're working on, and everyday people can use it. You go to chat.openai.com or search in Google for it. You have to sign up for an account, and once you do that, you can just log in. Now, don't be surprised if you're using the tool early in the morning or early afternoon, you can get a lot of error messages because it's that busy. In the evenings, it's much easier to get to the tool. Once you log in, you have a list of examples, capability information, as well as limitation of the version you're using. In the very bottom, you have a search box, or rather instruction or request box for ChatGPT. This is where you're going to be typing all your information. On the left, you have this black bar, and you will have a list of different chats or different kind of things you're working on with ChatGPT, and you can always go back to them. You can also switch between the dark mode and light mode, and then you have some frequently asked questions and version information. So let's go through 20 things that everyday people can use ChatGPT for. Now, you don't have to use ChatGPT only for hard things. You can use it for the everyday easy things that sometimes just hard to get started, like a thank you note or a birthday card. You know what you want to say, but you don't know how to phrase it. You can provide instruction to ChatGPT, such as make it in a friendly voice or casual, professional, witty, or funny. Just give it some instruction so it knows what you're expecting as the thank you note or birthday card. And then you want to provide as many details as you want to be included, because otherwise it's going to spit out like a very generic note that just doesn't sound like it's from you. And once you generate something, you can also regenerate. So then you have a different version. Let's say you like the first version, you can go back to it by just clicking the left arrow next to the version that it generated. And then you can provide a feedback. Let's say if I get errors, I like to say, hey, this wasn't helpful or this wasn't true. And then you can always go back to the original you provide to ChatGPT and modify it and click save and submit. However, sometimes it's very busy in the morning and it gives you an error. So another option is just basically pasting it at the bottom and just generating a version this way. And let's say once it gave you something, you don't really like it, you can provide additional instruction to modify the version they just gave you. And then further, let's say it gave you this note that it just was a bit too much, you can say, hey, stop, let's make it less sappy, so you can modify it further. So it's really listening to what you want to do. Now, once you have this, you can save this conversation in your chats on the left by giving it some name, something you can recognize, and clicking the check mark. You can also delete your conversation by clicking the trash can and then confirming you want to delete it. If you have many conversations, you don't want to get rid of all of them, you can click clear conversations, and then you can also click new chat if you're ready to start a new project. You can also use ChatGPT to help you plan your meals. I cook because I have to, not because I like to, and I can just throw in my ingredients in ChatGPT, let it know what I have, and let it suggest a couple of recipes. But I want something that doesn't take longer than 30 minutes, and I want instructions that are simple in bullet points so I can just follow it quickly. I don't want to read paragraphs. Sometimes it's just overwhelming. And once, it gives me a recipe, I can just read if I'm interested in doing this, and maybe we'll start generating a second one. But if I like the first one, I can just click stop generating. Another awesome way to use ChatGPT is to ask it to summarize something. Let's say I like this article and I would love to read it, but I don't have time. You could try to paste the whole article into the ChatGPT box, but even easier way is taking the URL, going to ChatGPT and just asking it to summarize by providing some instructions. Maybe you want to summarize it in like 5 sentences. And then once, it generates the response for you, maybe you still think it's too long and you want something more to the point, you can go to your instructions and edit it and maybe say, give me, 10 bullet points. And once it generates a new response, you can actually rotate through the responses, through your requests and your responses by clicking the arrow next to your picture by the instructions. Another cool thing you can do is ask ChatGPT to explain concepts or anything to you in simple terms or like you're 7-year-old. I actually found just using the phrase 7 years old better than like 5 years old, because then it was just putting it in like really childish terms. So you just have to test it out. You can always edit your initial request or modify it by saying, add more detail, etc. Now, this is one of my most favorite things you can do with ChatGPT. Basically, if you've ever had to write customer service letter requesting a refund, it's so much work. Maybe you purchased a cell phone and a situation has changed and you can no longer have the phone, but you want to have it reimbursed. It's very hard. It's like a mini project. I had to do it once for our family, and it was like a mini project. And if you try to search for templates on Google, many times what you receive, it doesn't exactly fit your situation. So it still requires a lot of work. Really, with ChatGPT, if you provided enough detail, it makes it personal and it gets you started and unstuck. So you can start with something and then you can just modify it as needed. Another fun thing you can do is ask ChatGPT to suggest TV shows or movies that are similar to something that you watch and you enjoy. And you can provide additional criteria. Let's say you enjoyed Stranger Things. You want 5 other shows that are similar, but you want something that's newer, maybe released after 2010 and at least had 2 seasons. You don't want to start a show that just ends after 1 season. And what's great and different from searching on Google is that you can provide it additional criteria to find things that are exactly what you're looking for. In similar fashion, you can also ask ChatGPT to give you book suggestion to something that's similar that you read recently and you really like. Let's say I want 5 books that are similar to Educated, but I don't want anything that's longer than 250 pages because maybe I don't have time. And I want actually some older books, so something that's published before 2020. And ChatGPT will not only give you the titles and the authors as well as published date, but also short description what they are. You can also go back to it and say, well, okay, tell me exactly how many pages long each of them is. And sometimes you will provide you an answer and you think, well, it doesn't exactly match the criteria I specified, but maybe the number of pages is not referring to paperback, but hardcover. So you have to specify more clearly. The translation ability of ChatGPT are amazing. You can get some lyrics of a foreign song and go to ChatGPT and ask to translate for you, and it translates in English, and you can translate in any language, not just English. And the way it generates the results, it's much more user-friendly than if you're using like Google Translate. You can also ask ChatGPT to help you when you're shopping. If you're shopping for a best PC computer for a college student that are under a certain price, let's say under $1,000, it will give you the PCs that you would recommend as well as some specification. But let's say, you don't want to be boggled down with all these specifications. You can ask it to regenerate the results and add additional criteria. Let's say, where can I buy them? So you can ask ChatGPT these questions. You can use ChatGPT as your personal trainer in a variety of ways. You can, for example, ask it to give you 3 different exercises that would strengthen your core, and you can add additional instructions, such as maybe for someone that's a beginner and maybe has back problems. And ChatGPT will give you not only the exercises, but also the description of how to perform the exercises. You can also maybe ask it to create set for you. Maybe you want to do set of leg and core dumbbell workout plan, and you want a ChatGPT to suggest something for you. You know what you're doing, but you just want a suggestion of how you can make it interesting. And finally, maybe you need to lose 10 pounds before a trip that you're going with your friends, and you need to lose it in 1 month, and you will have at least 30 minutes every other day that you can commit to the exercise. And you want to make it simple because you want to make it practical for you. ChatGPT easily can suggest not only diet, exercises, but also other things you can do to reach your goal. You can use ChatGPT for some general financial education and information. Be aware that some of the information you may have to verify. It's not a financial advisor, but you can ask a general question such as, how can I pay off my credit card debt? So to get some kind of simple steps and suggestion. You can also maybe ask some information on how certain investments, how they work. Let's say you want to figure out, how do people make money investing in US Treasury bills? Or maybe you want to know, what are the risks of certain investments such as virtual currency, and you want to just have an idea what this is, just kind of learning about it. But it's not a financial advisor. It doesn't have verifiable current information. You would have to do that somewhere else. The same with tax information, but it's definitely something to get you started. Nowadays, it's so normal for everyone to be posting reviews on Google or Amazon of their products they purchased or places they visited. And sometimes it prevents you from sharing something that you want to share with others because it's just taking a bit of time to edit it and phrase it right. So you can use ChatGPT to do that. Let's say you went to a Thai restaurant and you had a great experience. You can just put in some short sentences and let ChatGPT do its magic. And then, some places have a limit of characters, and you can add that instruction for ChatGPT to regenerate to fit your needs. And even after that, maybe if it's too short, you can ask to add more detail, make it funny, make it witty. And on top of it, you can also ask it to generate few title ideas for your review. We all have done it. You write an email and before you know it, it's like 7 paragraphs long. And you don't want to have to spend time rephrasing it, redrafting it, and so on. It's just so much work. You can use ChatGPT to easily rephrase it. You just give it some limitations. Let's say 3 paragraphs, 3 sentences each with a conclusion to get you unstuck, to provide you with a draft that's better. And you can also ask it to shorten to 3 sentences or maybe rephrase it in simple terms. Sometimes the hardest thing of writing emails or articles is actually finding the perfect subject line or title. If you have an email that's drafted and you just don't know what's the good subject line for what you wrote, you can just drop it into ChatGPT and ask it to suggest 3 different subject lines. And then the same thing if you wrote an article in a Medium or so on, you may want to have good titles. So you may ask ChatGPT to suggest 5 different titles that are maybe funny or witty or something like that. Not everyone is natural at making conversations, maybe going to a party or a dinner with some friends, and you just want to have some suggestions of what you can start talking about, and you can ask ChatGPT to give you some conversation starters for a party mixer, and maybe someone's going to be there who works in certain industry, and you can ask it to suggest some things that you can talk about. Let's say if someone is a chef, what can you ask them about their job? It's a great using ChatGPT for these very informal occasions. Another thing you can use ChatGPT, which is similar to the first one, is to writing a sympathy note. And these are very difficult. And a lot of times when I start with ChatGPT, I like to start with edit this and then provide what I have. And with sympathy notes, you want to include as much detail about the person as much as you know or remember to make it more personal, because these are very difficult. You don't want to just write a card or say, sorry for your loss or condolences. You want to include something more about the person to make it more personal and special. And I think this is really great to get you started. You don't have to use this as your final version, but it does really get you unstuck. And you can just change the words if you don't like, include more things or rephrase the sentences, but at least you have something instead of just a blank card that you're starting with. Honestly, social media is hard work. It's very time consuming and to be always witty, funny, interesting, and so on. And you can use ChatGPT to help you create some interesting, let's say, tweets. Maybe you wanted 3 educational tweets, 200 character long, on learning a new language. ChatGPT gets you started and you can just modify it as you like, but at least you're not staring at a blank post. This is a really fun and useful thing you can do with ChatGPT. Explain sport rules. Maybe you're at friend's house and you're watching something, or you're going to be somewhere. You want something simple enough to explain American football in 10 short bullet points. You don't want long paragraphs or articles and so on. You just want to have a gist of the idea so you can follow it properly without looking so clueless. Or maybe you have some questions on specific of a sport that you like, or let's say offside in soccer, to explain it to you in 3 sentences. You can also use ChatGPT to do that for you. Every year there's some big new game in town, and in 2022 it was definitely Wordle, and then everyone wanted to know how to beat it, how to be better at it, and so on. And you can use ChatGPT to give you some suggestion. Maybe what are the best words to start with for Wordle? Give me 10 suggestions. So you don't have to do any big research. Or any other game that's maybe some older game, you want to know how to beat people in poker. What are the suggestions? You can use ChatGPT for any kind of knowledge on strategy, winning a game, what are the rules, and so on. You can also use ChatGPT for gossip, but just be aware that the version you're using might have limited knowledge. But some historical information is definitely there, so you can ask it to give you some gist on relationship between two different people, like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which was big news in 2022. You can really summarize it quickly and you don't have to search multiple websites. Thanks so much for watching.